So recognize that light within you and affirm the following. I am the light I am. I am the light I am. I am the light I am. Am the light I am. So let's just go within and step into the beauty of this prayer with me. Relax, celebrate this moment, knowing that as we come together, infinite joy, inspiration, and love show up. Sweet, sweet spirit, infinite presence, source of all that is, abounding with all of life's gifts. I recognize the oneness of infinite presence. Yes, there is only one, and it's all there is. In my mind's eye, I look around and I see nature unfolding in magnificence, in wonder, in amazement. And I know that each one of us spins in infinity. Each of us is channeling source, infinite possibility. Each of us is a drop of water in an infinite ocean. Oh my, I know I am one with divine mind and all that is. And in this unity, I see love. In this oneness, I see my soul and spirit rise. I see the ripening of my soul, of the soul of each and every one of us. And as the universe opens up for each of us, we step into greater joy, inspiration, and love. I feel this divine energy flowing effortlessly through each one of us. And all of this is natural. It's grace, it's ease. I know Spirit shows up as each one of us. And I allow, I accept, I receive. The words spoken today, they inspire. The music is joy. And our community is rich with love, manifesting in each moment. I am in deep gratitude for our coming together and each of us manifesting possibility come to life. Each of us opens up as a channel of good, celebrating each moment. And I release this into this spiritual law which operates for us, for each one of us, naturally and eternally. The life principle manifesting as me, as us, in every moment. I let go and I let God. And together we affirm, and so it is. So let us take 2 minutes in silence for deeper contemplation.
This whole year, we're looking at a theme called Living Out Loud. Here we are, right? And this month we're looking at the idea of rooting and rebooting, and today we're looking at the eternal. Yes, that's an interesting slip there. The internal, which is eternal song that we are all a part of. It's always singing. Can we harmonize with it? Can we harmonize with it? So as we look at our basics, at our roots, and our talk month for the month is root and reboot. And so we look at those basics, we look at just like our computer devices, we sometimes need to reboot, yes? Okay? And so we are rebooting ourselves in our understanding of both the infinite oneness and of our own relationship with interaction with it. And so after the past couple of weeks, we've been exploring the thing itself, we've been exploring the way it works, and today we're looking at what it does. Notice that all these are focused on it, that divine presence, that there. Not us. I want it to work my way, but it doesn't. It works its way. Yes? Okay. So what it does, out of beingness, out of infinite beingness comes doingness, comes expression. We oftentimes in the Western culture get that backwards. We think that out of our doingness and our havingness, we'll get a beingness. We'll be happy. The truth is, our beingness calls forth our doingness. What is ours to do? What is mine to do? Out of which comes forth our having the experience and the life that we want. So beingness first, then doing and expression. Its expression, this infinite presence's expression, is impersonal. That is, it gives alike to all. This is where Jesus says, the rain falls on the heads of the just and the unjust alike. And according to one of the other Gospels, the sun shines over the heads of the just and the unjust alike. The idea is you don't have to do a certain thing to get it. It's just happening. The sun shines on all of us. It doesn't care whether we follow the rules. It doesn't care what color we are, or any of that stuff. It doesn't care about, this infinite presence doesn't care about all the ways that we separate and divide and judge and evaluate. It's just expressing itself. It's just expressing its nature. Saying, yeah. And we get to say, yeah, with it. It follows its own laws, not ours. Its nature is to give of itself, and ours is to receive. I'll say it again. Its nature is to give of itself, and ours is to let it in, to receive. Which all sounds, and can be, very simple. Ernest Holmes says we are surrounded by a mind, capital M, mind, or intelligence that knows everything. That the potential knowledge of all things exists in this mind, that the abstract essence of beauty, truth, and wisdom coexist in the mind of the universe, and that we also exist in it and may draw from it. Breathe that in for a moment. You and I are within this infinite mind, and we may use it, we may draw from it. Except we get our bloated nothingness in the way sometimes, don't we? Ernest goes on to say, and this is one of his famous all in caps things, so it's like, pay attention. But what we draw from it, we must draw through the channels of our own minds. So this is the law of mind. We receive only as much as we can accept and embody. And all of this would flow easily and gracefully, except we have inherited and embodied millennia of old beliefs, old fears, old superstitions, all sorts of junk, yes? And it's ultimately based in a core belief of separation from God, separation from good, separation from each other, separation from our own divinity and the divinity of life around us, separation from all the other people and forms of life around us, and separation from the planet itself. This is the bloated nothingness. This is the accumulation of millennia of thoughts of separation beliefs that we all inherit. Yes? And there are consequences which tend to generate more illusions of separation. Today's Richard Rohr's contemplation talks about the prophets. Prophets. And he uses the Latin word radix. He says prophets are radical teachers. And the Latin word radix, R-A-D-I-X, from which we get radical, means in Latin root. Root. So we talk about these prophets as being radical teachers who disrupt the status quo by calling out the shadow stuff that nobody wants to look at. He identified Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks as prophets, people who called out the stuff we didn't want to look at. We are also called to be prophets unto ourselves, to look at the stuff within us, our own status quo, which wants to go along its merry way, pretending it's fine. How many times do you ask people, how are you doing? And they go, fine, when it's not. And he uses a metaphor that we like to throw life preservers to people who are drowning in a swollen stream, while the prophet works far upstream to find out why the stream is swollen in the first place. The prophet goes to the roots to find out why the flow is blocked and we are parched, thirsty, and craving the water of life, the water of love, and to find out what's blocking that. Practitioners, by the way, are wonderful people to help unblock the flow. Working with a practitioner to release the blockages to our fuller flow is something that I strongly encourage you to do. And our practitioners, would you raise your hand if you're a licensed practitioner here? We've got Buffy, Teresa, Tim, Linda, Sylvia. They're all on this side. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so all you people over there, you want to see these people over here. Ernest Holmes says, life always becomes to us the particular thing we need when we believe that it becomes to us that particular thing. Say that again. Life always becomes to us the particular thing we need when we believe that it becomes to us that particular thing. In other words, if I have no belief that it's going to show up and support me, it's not going to show up and support me because my belief is it's not going to show up and support me. If I know that it's going to show up and support me, I was watching a Harry Potter movie a couple days ago. And they needed a place to go study, a place to go teach. And they found the room of requirement, which shows up exactly as what is needed in the moment, fully outfitted with everything necessary. And the universe is like that. It shows up as what we need. It shows up as what we want. The challenge is sometimes our wants are conflicted. Sometimes our wants are out of alignment with what we are, with our highest good. So we can use this process to create freedom, greater freedom. We can use this process to create bondage. The universe doesn't care. It doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't ask you, are you sure you want to do that? It doesn't do that. It just says, yes. Because its nature is to give, to say yes to whatever we put into it. Take a breath. If I believe in suffering, sickness, and disease, what will the universe return to me? Yeah, that exactly. If I believe in joy, love, prosperity, what will the universe return to me? Joy, love, prosperity. That. Because that's its nature. We create a mold in our consciousness which is filled by the substance of the infinite to show up. If we give it no definite mold, guess what shows up? Blah, nothing, or whatever's in the air, which is usually all of our history of old beliefs, separation, the surrounding collective conscious unconsciousness. If you don't consciously plant and tend the plants that you want in your garden, what shows up is weeds, whatever's in the air. which is usually weeds. All that. Blackberries, slugs. In 365 Days of Richer Living, it says, to be free from the bondage of fear, superstition, and want, the mind must be riveted on freedom. Take that in. The mind must be riveted on freedom. Spiritual enlightenment is an increasing capacity to consciously become aware of the divine presence of peace, joy, and harmony. This calls us to understand two things. First, it's not about casually, once in a while, thinking a happy thought. That's not enough. But a mind riveted on freedom. You know, think of rivets. They bond things together really tightly, really closely, really firmly. Our minds must be strongly and consistently bonded to the capital T truth we want to experience in our lives. And then the second thing it calls us to notice is that enlightenment comes not from adding lots of stuff. It's not from adding lots more books, and lots more classes, and lots more whatever. Those may inspire us. Nothing necessarily wrong with them. But they're not the source of enlightenment. They may propel us towards that. Because what enlightenment comes from subtracting, from releasing what's blocking our view. Paul, in his first letter to the Corinthians, writes, love never fails. God is love, yes? Okay, so love, the highest quality, never fails. He says, but there may be prophecies. But where there may be prophecies, they shall fail. Where there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there shall be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, that divine nature of who we are, when that which is perfect is come, then that which is imperfect shall come to an end. For now we see as through a glass darkly, through a mirror darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know even as I also am known. Now that's a whole lot, isn't it? When I focus on the perfect, when I have my mind riveted to freedom, when I have my mind riveted to love, everything else falls away. Prophecies, knowledge, all that other stuff comes from our intellect, from our best guess of how it is. Yes? Okay? But when we tap into that infinite presence, all of that falls away. And so we get to know as we are known. In other words, we are known in this infinite presence. I reveal myself, I open myself to this infinite presence by whatever name you give it, to be known, to be used by the divine. As I live in that consciousness, my life shifts. Life around me shifts. I heard somebody recently say we need to stop focusing on ourselves so much and start focusing on what we need to do out in the outer world. And it said we can't do in the outer world what we're not doing within our own world first. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, to become the prophets they were, the disruptors of the status quo that they were, had to do their own inner work first. And then from that comes something different. When old ways of thinking are left behind, we can see clearly that, capital T, that which is. That which has always been. That which will always be. You and I are always, right now, always have been, always will be one of this infinite presence. There is nothing you or I can do to stop that. We can forget it and act from that forgetting, but we are still one of the infinite presence. How many of you have children? Okay? Is there anything they can do to stop being your children? No. You may not like everything they do, but they're still your children. We are still in that. This is where we put away childish things, old fears, old beliefs, old superstitions, and step into our fullness as co-creators with the divine. That is what we're meant to be here. That is what you and I are meant to be here, co-creators with the divine. The molds into which Spirit flows are made in our own minds. The molds into which Spirit flows are made in our own minds. You know, this is known as a hard teaching. Religious science is known as a hard teaching because we can't blame some devil. We can't blame the system. We can't blame our parents. We can't blame all that out there, can we? Because we start to realize that it comes through here. We may have been influenced by all that out there, but we have the responsibility for our own minds. We must recognize that we live behind walls which others may have started, but we maintain and add to in our ignorance. Instead, we recognize that we co-create our lives by our choices and our habitual patterns. You know, most people are mentally lazy. Not you guys. Most people. It's so much easier to point our fingers out there, yes? Okay? And blame the great out there for our lives. But as we awaken to the influence and the infinite power and process, the law that returns what we put into it, we notice that. And our first response will be, oh shit. How many? Yeah. In the Gospel of Thomas, it says, Jesus said, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. That's the oh shit. Okay? After he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all. And that all is capital A, all. We will be troubled, and then we will be astonished, and then we will wake up and rule over the all. The ego doesn't like to take responsibility, so it gets troubled when it looks and says, you're responsible for all the stuff in your life. And by the way, that's not a shame-blame statement or you're doing it wrong. It's just this is what you've been fed like millennia of people before you. All that's happening is we're starting to wake up a little more. We're on a cutting edge of consciousness and starting to say, yeah, wait a minute. Let's rethink this. Let's revisit this. The ego's idea of how things work gets challenged and blown up. That's the disturbing. That's the troubling. Yet following this, if we're willing to go through that turbulence first, the real self awakens and is astonished. Oh my God, I do get to co-create my life with this infinite presence. I do get to align with that which already is. We teach something, we'll talk about it in a minute, called spiritual mind treatment, which is not about changing God. It's not about even changing the out there. It's getting me in alignment with that which is, that infinite presence. The real self awakens and is astonished and realizes it rules over the all. In other words, it directs the power of the universe in our lives. Quite often when we realize that, our places of obstruction, our places where we don't believe that, our places where we're in resistance and kicking and screaming and fighting that. I have a friend I referred to before that wrote a song called Kicking and Screaming Down the Path of Transformation. She's not alone. I can testify she's not alone. All of our obstructions, our places of obstruction will show up. All the separation-based beliefs and the fears and the judgments and the superstitions and the beliefs in lack will show up. But if our mind is riveted on freedom, if we're saying, no, I don't give a dang, I'm going this way anyways, we will overpower, release, and dissolve all that old junk into the nothingness that it truly is. Breathe. And it won't be so through some long, protracted battle and struggle and strain. It'll be by turning on the light of truth in the darkness has been living in our mind. And just like light doesn't have to battle with darkness, because darkness is simply just the absence of light. Our stuff is just the absence of spiritual truth. We don't have to do some big battle with all of our old issues, you know. We turn on the light of truth. And while it takes effort to focus, to keep our mind thinking and feeling and pointed in this new direction that we may choose, it doesn't have to be a struggle. Although I have to testify that sometimes the ego clings desperately to its old ways and identities. I had a psychic revelation as I was coming up here. There is somebody in this room who promised that they would eat far more healthy this year. And last Friday it was, this is what this is saying, downed an entire pint of Acme dark chocolate ice cream in one sitting. There's somebody in this room. So our ego still hangs on to it. And when we do, we just refocus, yes? We don't do blame, shame, or guilt. We just say, oops, okay, I was off track this time. Let me redo that again. There is no Acme chocolate ice cream in my house today. Yes, because I ate it all. But I didn't replenish it. So we refocus on our intended direction and move forward. We teach a powerful process of shifting our consciousness that we call spiritual mind treatment. I did a class on that a few weeks ago, a workshop on that a few weeks ago. Ernest Holmes says, a treatment is a statement in the law, the capital L law, that the law is that process of manifesting what we put into it into form. Okay? So it's a powerful statement, is a statement in the law embodying the concrete idea of our desires and accompanied by an unqualified faith that the law works for us as we work with it. And then one of my favorite little lines, after he says that, he says, let us waste no further time looking for the secret of success or the key to happiness. That's it. We create a treatment, a statement in the law embodying the concrete idea of our desires and accompanied by an unqualified faith that the law works for us as we work with it. For those who want to play or learn more about spiritual mind treatment, I'm doing a 2-week class in the first 2 Saturdays of February. The Unity prayer team is asked to be taught spiritual mind treatment, and so I'm going to be teaching that. You're welcome to join, and you can register on Unity's website. I believe they call it a $50, they call it a conscious commitment of $50 to join for that. But it'll be 6 hours of really diving deep into spiritual mind treatment for ourselves and for others. So a treatment is an active thing. It is definitely knowing, stating, sensing a specific good. It's not, think of an artist who sits in front of his or her canvas and just looks at the canvas, has all the paints, has all the brushes, and does nothing. That's called just being passive. A treatment is an active thing. It says, I'm going to form the infinite substance of the universe into this. And guess what? You and I have the right to do that. If we didn't, we wouldn't have the ability to do that. And then we also look at treatment is also good for clearing out the old obstacles in our consciousness so that spirit can flow freely in our lives, consciously co-creating its true nature through and as us. We are coming into alignment with that infinite presence. So we must have faith in our power and ability to create, as well as in the principle itself by which this works, and in the certainty of the demonstration we are calling forth. I'll say it again. We must have faith in our power and ability to create. Breathe that in. If I don't have faith in it, if I'm sitting there, oh, who am I? I'm just a little worm of the dust, all that, the universe is going to return to us that, yes? Worms. So we have to have faith in our power and ability to create, as well as faith in the principle itself by which this works, and then the certainty of the demonstration we are calling forth. I know that when I'm doing a prayer for something, it will manifest. I don't know how. I don't have to know how. I don't need to know how. Most of us will not even bother to go for what we want because our intellectual mind doesn't know how. Ours is not to know the how. Ours is to declare the what and allow the universe to show up as the how. We had no idea how to manifest this building. We wanted to. We've been putting it out for 10 years or more. We had no idea the how, but the how, when it was time, revealed itself. It's the same thing in our lives. This is the chapter also which has one of my absolute favorite earnest quotes. Many people correctly begin their treatment in this manner. I know that the principle of intelligence within me will direct me, etc. And then they complete it with this thought. Well, I certainly hope it does. This is entirely forgetting, he says, any definite statement and is simply wondering if possibly some good will come along. This is not the scientific use of this principle. In other words, we have to have that absolute faith. This is going to work. This is the nature of the divine. If we are wishy-washy with the universe, it will reflect back to us wishy-washiness. How many of you want wishy-washy relationships? How many of you want wishy-washy prosperity? How many of you want wishy-washy health? No. So we hold the definite idea in mind. So this week, one spiritual practice and only one spiritual practice, take some definite good that you desire. It can be big, it can be small. I use treatment for anything from losing my keys. From finding my keys. Thank you so much. Dear universe, I want to lose my keys. No, I don't. From finding my keys to creating a beautiful, powerful spiritual community, to holding a world of harmony. The universe knows how to do all this. I just have to be a place that starts to know that and establish it so it starts to flow. So we can use treatment for anything. So take some definite good that you desire, and if you don't even know what it is, that's your first treatment. I want clarity in what is the good that wants to come through me now. What is it that I really, truly from my heart want? Okay? So take some definite good that you desire, understanding the underlying reason and feeling for the thing. So what is it that I want to feel as a result of this or experience as a result of this? And then rivet your mind to it. For those of you who know how to do spiritual mind treatment, do that daily for this thing. Did you catch that? Yes. Okay. For those of you who don't know that process, simply firmly recognize the desire of the infinite mind to express this good through and as you and say yes. Say yes. Are you willing to do that one practice this week? Yes. Yeah, great. Love it. I'm going to close with a long quote, and then I'm going to do an affirmation, and then I'm going to do a prayer. So just, our musicians, Brent is trained to jump when I say we're going to have a closing quote, but sometimes you might as well just relax for a little while. And the quote is, let us restate our principle. This is from the Science of Mind. Let us restate our principle. We are surrounded by an infinite possibility. Get that? I'm surrounded by. Say that. I am surrounded by an infinite possibility. It is goodness, life, law, and reason. Go ahead. In expressing itself through me, it becomes more fully connected, more fully conscious of its own being. In other words, you and I, this is a little sidetrack, are the infinite becoming more and more conscious of itself. We are being servants to the infinite. And it's fun. This is not slogging through lots of suffering. So the quote goes on, and I'm just going to read it. Therefore, it wishes to express through us as it passes into our being, it automatically becomes the law of our lives. It can pass into expression through us only as we consciously allow it to do so. Therefore, we should have faith in it and its desire and its ability to do for us all that we shall ever need to have done. Think about that. Its ability to do for us all that we shall ever need to have done. Since it must pass through our consciousness to operate for us, we must be conscious that it is doing so. That is our practice, is to open that track, to open that flow, to open that channel. So we have an affirmation. Yes. Today, say this with me, today my life harmonizes with the song of the One. Today my life harmonizes with the song of One. And so it is.